So, 1985, pretty epic year. Back to the Future, one of the best. I don't know if there's a writer's strike or there's a lot of films. Out of Africa, Amadeus, My Life as a Dog, Back to the Future, Return to Oz, The Color Purple, The Journey That He Got, Freddy's Revenge, Ran, Machine Life in Four Chapters, Clue, Cocoon, I haven't watched yet, Commando, everything Juliette Binoche was in. Yeah, a lot of films. Straight up, Return to Oz. I just straight up say it, the shock torture scene was a bit much. The later you have something trivial as Gnome King getting defeated by a chicken egg, which is very odd. I don't know, in terms of kids' entertainment, it was great. You compare it to like Star Wars, Master of the Universe, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and I had that kind of technology. It's a shame it didn't caught on. It's associated with a lot of people. When I grew up, people, even though like it was like 10 years before I was born, it was like associated with the sequel of Wizard of Oz. Even though like I was like four or whatever, and even though like Wizard of Oz came out in 1939, but I wouldn't know that because Wikipedia wasn't out yet. There was like the Skeksis, and then you had like the Wheelers. People remember the Wheelers, but they don't remember like there's a Gump, and he's like connected to like a sofa, and like that's sort of out of whatever. 9 years before Forrest Gump, there was the Gump in the Gump in. Hey, there was no Gump in Forrest Gump. There's a Gump in Return to Oz, though. Freddy's Revenge gets criticism for the homoerotic overtones, but it's done pretty consistently and it's done pretty well. It also doesn't have the. I don't think it has the lady from the original film Return. The sort of effects where he's like Freddy's body coming out of his body was pretty cool. It's obviously fake, but I don't know. It looked pretty damn cool. And when I go to the Museum of the Moving Image, I see that scene. It's like it's what I think about when I think of like special effects. Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street. Special effects are really good. Got Robert England. Sad when people dies. Back to the Future. Slackers, Twin Pines Mall, 1:15 a.m. Libyan terrorism. I guess that's why they were associated with Ronald Reagan. Reagan's presidency was 1981. The John Hughes version of It's a Wonderful Life, adding Hollywood cinema and history. The 1950s. Reagan was big in the 1950s. Cyclicalness of the film was like that of a Walter Berman script. The beginning of the film was about his parents in the past, and the end of the film was about the kids in the future. Everything in between. Very tight script. Everything references something else. How many Martin McFlys are there? The timelines. What were you doing in that car? What, Lorraine? Dr. Emmett Brown Enterprises, Dalmatia, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 25 World Series, which is very prevalent in Back to the Future Part 2, Origins of Doc's Gun, Wizard of Oz in Episode 1, with Doc Brown opening his door. Like that kind of framing is pretty good. During the human form shoot it. The 50s boom, economies. The Dream of Wizard of Oz. He asks Jennifer out on a date at the same place his mother, rejects his father, and goes on a date with him in the square. Wonder if Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 was supposed to have variations of the recurring theme. Green police car, green truck. Oh, Lupin the Third, the Gold Babylon was out that day. Communism was the thing in the film in Back to the Future. 1950s radio, Star Trek and Star Wars becoming big. I mean, it wasn't until 1960s when that would be a thing. Doc bribes a cop for a weather sensing permit. 1950s. It's pretty dumb. Luckily, it was deleted from the original scenes. I have the DVD, so it's pretty cool to have it. Hal Lloyd on the clock tower. Doc kissing the car driver. The dreams out of this complex. Sex and birth and horror films. Whatever happened to Old Man Peabody? Those are my notes. Probably give it to Terry Gilliam's Brazil. I've never seen such a comedy of a dystopia done so well. And it's the guy from Tomorrow Never Dies in it is pretty good. Covers authoritarianism so well. I think it does better than V for Vendetta. What was it? 20 years later. Gestapo, authoritarianism, despotism, etc. Covered very well, and it's like relatable because like it happens to like people even when everyone's like perfectly fine, protected. The Color Purple by Steven Spielberg, really tough drama to watch. Like you always associate Spielberg with like the lighthearted stuff, but this like just tough stuff like later on with like European like Schindler's List and stuff. Turning that again was pretty popular with my parents. I wonder if it did well in Taiwan. It's associated with like in between Eisner and the Disney eras, but like it's a pretty solid film. Black Hole, like other stuff. Just nobody watched those kind of films. My Lucky Stars with Samuel. It has to do with like a Great Depression and like a child growing up. Never made a Disney write out, but I guess that was the problem. You couldn't really merchandise it. Sammo Hung, Lucky Stars, Pickles. Decent story, nothing mind blowing, but like martial arts were really there. Ran, Akira Kurosawa, weird exposition characters with colors of clans were pretty good, and that kind of scenery is very good. Really good for. I see that with like Snow White, which I watched recently covered in 2021, and they have a whole bunch of people walking all over the scenes. There's another film I watched recently too. Love a Christmas Carol, they moved all over. You have to use the characters very well. Chris Columbus and Home Alone actually. And the Harry Potter films always have a lot of moving parts. That was his key stuff. Not so much directing, not so much story though. Who has a very good script. It also has Tim Curry. You have a letter. You have a letter. You have a letter. Who did it? Did multiple endings. Felt like a video game. Pretty cool. I forgot with Back to the Future talking about like Christopher Lloyd's performance, Crispin Glover, Thomas F. Wilson. Technique with Juliette Binoche and John Louis. Their track was pretty good. Frankie Four, I think, was out that year too, but I don't really want to pick that one because of still small. But it does feel very. Well, Runaway Train was pretty good. Runaway Train, Color Purple, and what's the other one I said? Brazil, probably the best three films of 1985. Is that My Life as a Dog? Pretty good. You know the guy for like really bad. He did a Dog's Purpose was pretty good. Some photography for his like European films was really good. His album stuff is not so good. Some of the Fishing Him was so bad. But My Life as a Dog is pretty good. It covers kids, covers like the history of the environments, everything very well. Really good art film. There's like some child nudity in it, just so you know. But it is an art film and like enjoyed. If the art aspect of it, not so much. Yeah. Oh yeah, Commando. Commando's a really good film too. Toxic masculinity, not really, but a little bit actually with like the shirt tear thing with the woman, but like it's so over the top that you can't take it seriously. It's very it feels like a criticism of masculinity. It's so masculine, like you can't take it it's like a Brock Sampson of like action films where it's like so over the top you can't take it seriously. It feels like self-parody at the point, even if you don't believe that he did it on purpose or not. John McTiernan, unless you enjoy it for that purpose. What are your thoughts on subscribe?